Hello again, Struckweb. Today I'm bringing you a build I have been playing on my streams. And a viewer of mine on YouTube saw a recording of one of my streams from last night and requested a build video for what was used back then. So here it is, this is the build. It's a crowd control and debuffing build, very good for team play. It connects ties that bind with Stillness of Mind and Avatar, so you can keep spamming phase grasp that links the nearby enemies to the grasp target and makes them take 35% of the damage the grasp target does. And with Stillness of Mind we also are able to phase walk some of the nearby targets to our target, to the phase grasped enemy. On top of this we have Avatar, which allows us to use our Ties That Bind phase grasping action skill one more time while it's in cooldown. Then it has to cool down completely before we can again do two action skills one after the other. It's very great in such cases where you have two badasses or one badass that's a bit tanky, so one grasping is not enough to kill it. So you can kind of, as you can see in a moment when there's some badasses. And we also have a skill that makes enemies affected by our action skill take 25% extra damage from all sources. So this is great for the team. If you have a radiation gun combined with this and you're attacking the grass target and all your teammates are attacking the grass target, it's taking more damage, and more of that damage that it's taking is being spread to the enemies that are chain linked. It's perfect in such cases. You see, I just chain grasped this guy, and if you have another siren on the team, you can kind of perma grasp an enemy with such a build. When it comes to the skills, we're heavily investing into the Mystical Assault 3 and kind of almost maxing out Fist of the Elements. Here on the Mystical Assault 3, the things that are core for the build would be Avatar. Then you have Laid Bear, and things that also help us with some extra gun damage are Wrapped, Awakening for rush stack effectiveness. This one gives us some nice rush stacks. If you want action skill damage, you can probably spend a point here, but I personally don't like it. But maybe it would be not a bad choice to spend just 1 point here instead of maxing this one out. I personally prefer this effect chance, but it's up to you, decide what you need. But the core would be Avatar and Laid Bear and Rat being maxed out together with 1 point in Ascendant. I also put some points here for extra reload speed, because reload speed is always nice and it maxes out your damage, and I also maxed out this one. And you need Stillness of Mind for a combo with Ties That Bind. Basically with Ties That Bind we grasp a target, make it take 35% of the damage, make it share 35% of the damage taken, and then it also takes more damage because it's affected by Laid Bear. And I'm assuming, since we have Stillness of Mind, the phase grass target will be phase walked, the ones next to it. And this would mean it would still be affected by the action skill, so it would mean they would still be taking additional damage. So just Ties That Bind on a badass. It spreads the effect with a phase walk on the nearby enemies, and it also links the nearby enemies. So as long as you hit the grasped, the Ties That Bind target, all the other nearby targets would be taking extra damage. I think this is also nice, especially if you spec into shock, but even if you don't spec into shock, that's a lot of extra damage, a lot of extra elemental damage. I think it's better than investing here or here in regards to that. I think 1 point is enough for Catharsis, and I think it's better to maybe spend 5 points here for the spread chance, but if you don't like the spread chance, maybe you can spend the points in some other places. Like maxing this one out and spending some more points here. If you don't want that many points here or here, you can max out sustainment. Any time you can get more points into sustainment, do so. I think the more points into sustainment you get, the better it is for the build, because what it's suffering from is survivability, and that's a great way of getting survivability. Maybe even 1 point into this won't be bad, but decide for yourself. This is not a bad option for extra health regen. So even 1 point here might be good, whether it's from a mod or from your own investment. The thing is, we can't afford to lose points from this place with the way I've set it up, but we can afford to lose some points and shift things around on this side. So this was kind of it for the skills. Hopefully it was useful. Now I'm gonna show you a bit of things and advice about the Guardian ranks. When it comes to the Guardian ranks, pick things that you believe would be useful for this character and other characters you would play if you would be playing some. So if you can hit the crit spots, go for crit damage. If you would be playing Flak on a crit build, go for crit damage. If you think you can't hit the crit spots, go for gun damage. If you would be playing a melee Amara, get some melee damage. Just keep investing points until you unlock the final thing in Enforcer. You can keep pumping points into Enforcer later, but I believe it would be better to, once you get Enforcer, spend some points into Survivor, because some of the skills in there are pretty useful as well for many different builds on many different characters. Some things that are underwhelming would be this and this. I don't think those are really much needed, but they would still help you. So Hunter probably shouldn't be a priority. Spend points into Enforcer, then into Survivor. When it comes to Survivor, health, shield capacity, shield recharge delay and shield recharge rate are good. Some people might like fight for your life duration, but it depends on the build and everything, and whether you so often or not. Then, on the other side, action skill cooldown is very useful for this build. With enough investment into this, you would eventually be able to probably spam your action skill cooldown. And it's also useful for some flag builds, so consider that. Consider your outs. Reload speed is also pretty solid. Whereas work drop rate is only nice if you would be farming a lot, but I'm not sure how those 10% work, whether they increase the base before the mayhem bonuses or whether they're just a bit of little percentages on top of the mayhem bonuses. When it comes to the gear, I would strongly suggest taking your favorite bases. Some people like Wushan Skull, some people like the Flacker. I've seen people liking the food. The Butcher is also an amazing shotgun. Maybe not for this build, but for many builds it is nice. The Conference Skull is a bit underwhelming, and the one pump jump can be good as well. So take your favorite bases and try to find them with good anointments. So here I've got a very nice anointment for this build. For this build, what you need is anything that is based on phase grasp or on action skill end or on action skill start. So I don't have anointed grenade, so I'm using Hex, which is with radiation. And this is amazing anointment for a shield. Probably this may not be the best shield for this build, but it's something. And it's the only one with this on action skill and action skill cooldown rate is increased by 20% for a short time. I think this is probably one of the best anointments you can get for this build, because you want to be spamming your action skill as much as you can. Another good thing is I like this base, Rowan Skull. Some of you may like it, some of you may not. Even though it's face cast, I'm still using it. So I know it's a wasted anointment, but it's still better than some other bases I've got. And it's radiation. I would strongly suggest getting radiation element if you can. So there's just some examples of what you can get as anointments. Action skill and weapon damage is increased by 100 for a short time. Then you have things like on action skill end, the next two magazines will have 50% additional bonus radiation damage. Or weapon damage is increased by 100 for a short time. Or action skill end, deal 20% bonus radiation damage for a short time. So there's another good stuff. There's also incendiary for the next two magazines. So basically try to stack phase grasp bonuses or action skill and bonuses. This is a nice combo. Black Hole, which does a Nova, combined with while phase grasp is active, Amara constantly triggers Novas that deal 3718 damage. Basically with this one you would have to be close to the enemies, and I'm trying to stay far from the enemies with this build, so probably such an augment is not the best for this specific build, but you may try and experiment with it. The Ludum is also a great sniper, a great base, so if you find a good anointed Luda with cryo or radiation, it would be amazing. Even if it doesn't have the anointment, you might probably want to keep experiment playing with it. When it comes to the mods, currently I'm using a Nimbus. And it's only because it's the only one I've got with decent skills. I'm trying to find one with more blue skills, less orange skills. So something like Phase Zerker is also not a bad choice, especially for extra cooldown rate and extra weapon damage and rush tax. If you find a good one, maybe try and experiment with it. Elementalist is also not a bad one, but with Elementalists you won't be having this extra quote and you won't be having the cooldown rate from Phase Zerker, but experiment as long as you have good skill bonuses on the mod and you have good bonuses underneath it, then that would be fine. Just check whether it synergizes with the build before using it, whether it boosts some decent skills that would be beneficial to you. So experiment with Elementalist, Nimbus or Phase Zerker. Those three mods are the ones that are viable. I don't think there's any other mods that could be. Whereas for the Relic, I'm gonna suggest, if you want to farm Guardian ranks, go for Combat XP as the secondary bonus. And since I like radiating enemies and they would be exploding, I think this is not a bad choice. Radiation efficiency, aura damage, burst damage and radius. This gives me max shield, movement speed and shield recharge delay. This is kind of nice for my build, but maybe you can try and experiment with other things like imbuing your Swite and getting this bonus damage after killing a badass. And if you get some good bonuses like ignite chance or radiate chance or etc. type of damage, that's not bad. This one gives him temporary invulnerability, so it's an option if you need some survivability. Of course it's all random, so the bonuses you see here in the middle and at the bottom might be different, but the base is one, the invulnerability one. And there's another Moxis endowment, similar to what I'm using, but slightly different. You can just see the difference here, just a moment. So you see again max shield, but instead of movement speed and shield recharge delay, that's melt, chance and area of effect damage. So pick something that synergizes with the build, with what you're using, and hopefully you would enjoy. This is another option, elemental damage boost. That's 180% bonus damage from the element that you have been hit. Like if they burn you, you would be doing 180% more burning damage. This also gives magazine size and ignite chance, so for me sometimes it might be a good option even though it's a blue mod. This is it for the gear. Hope it was helpful to all of you. Now I'll show you some more gameplay to top it off. Thank you for watching this video, folks. If you want to see more footage, you can subscribe to my channel. If you've enjoyed the video, smash the like button. If you didn't like it, smash the dislike button, and I would appreciate to let me know what about it you didn't like. Feel free to let me know about any suggestions for builds you might wanna see, and I'll do my best to showcase them in a day or two. And of course, if I need to power level a character to showcase the build, it might take me a bit longer. In the upcoming sequence you would be able to see my social media and streaming channels. You can also see those in the description below. Thanks again for watching the video, folks. Remember to keep it cool, and until next time.
So, you ready, killer?